We got a 2022 Indian FTR R Carbon. I don't know why Indian put that extra R in there. We already got flat track racing. Maybe they try to make it sound faster, but we got an FTR Carbon. And you can see that a lot of the pieces that are supposed to be on here, headlight, airbox cover, exhaust, they're not on here. That's because this bike was wrecked. My friend, he low-sided this FTR Carbon and he took it to the dealership, had it inspected. They quoted him $15,000 to fix this bike, $4,000 of that being labor. And the brand new FTR Carbon is $17,000, which means in the eyes of full coverage insurance or insurance in general, it's a total bike. He did not want his bike totaled, so he reached out to me and asked me, could I fix it? And I told him I would try. So the plan is to inspect my friend's bike, go over everything that we think is damaged, and get this bike back on the road. But I can tell you the headlight, the airbox covers, the exhaust, those things are in the garage. So the first step here is to inspect it, to figure out what we think is wrong, and then we go from there. So let's do it.
All right, starting with the bike, we have the seat right here. Very nice seat, by the way. You can see that little mark right there. That's probably what the dealership used to mark that off. We got the passenger pegs. We have the headlight, right airbox cover, left airbox cover. And also we have the headlight cowl right there with an exhaust cover. And also we have some various pieces right here with the screws right there. And the last piece is the Akrapovic exhaust, scratched up. You can see that? Yeah. So these are all the parts that are not on the bike. Starting off here on the front of the bike, the bar end right here was scratched up. He's not going to care about that, but this is indicating where the bike made contact with the ground or whatever it hit. But he did tell me that the front of the bike was kind of off, meaning the tire was not fully straight in the forks. So I've examined this bike a little bit, and I did determine that these forks did not take any impact whatsoever. So that is good news, because these things, I know the Indian Chief, these are $1,200 a piece. So I'd imagine these are pretty close. Also, coming back over here before I forget, these the front lever with the master cylinder, brake lever with the master cylinder, this is downward a bit compared to the clutch lever. See how these are not fully leveled. So this is off a little bit. There's a screw, Allen keys right here to put that back where it needs to be, but it is off. So more than likely, these handlebars could possibly be bent, because he also said that the front tire is not lining up with the rest of the bike. So I guess when he's sitting on it, either the handlebars fell off or the risers fell off or this front tire and wheel fell off. Now I can tell you there is a slight nick right here where the rim took impact right there. I can tell you that it is not losing pressure or anything. Actually, when he wrecked the bike, he rode it home the same day. But what's interesting is that we have a cracked radiator. So there's probably barely any radiator fluid in here. And what's crazy is this radiator, and this bike didn't have any crash guards on it. This thing took the blunt of the damage. Now, we do have some header damage right here. Not so bad. That's from his boots, basically melting on that. We also have a bent brake lever right here. Brakes still work. They're still firm. No issues with that. Just needs to, get a new brake lever. Probably no issues with having to bleed them or anything. Well, brakes work. The issue with the exhaust was that it was loose. So the bracket mounts somewhere in here, but it was loose, which was indicating that basically when the bike had impact, and I guess it was sliding, the impact knocked the torque off of the bolts that were holding that bracket on there. So we're gonna have to put that back on there. Obviously the passenger stuff is missing right here. which should be fine. But to get to all of this stuff, to check, you know, things like the frame, the dealership took all of this stuff off so they could check. The frame was quoted to be replaced on this bike. And the reason for that is because the steering stem on the frame, you can't really see it, there's a little notch on it, basically indicating that the steering stem touched the steering stops on the triple tree. And a lot of times when you see that, that means that the bike possibly has frame damage. But I can tell you that I do not think that that is the case on this bike. You won't really know until you start tearing into it. I truly do not think that is going to be the case with this. So we're going to leave that alone. But I can show you this. This is what happens when the steering stop is fully breached on these forks. That's one that's still there. This is one that's not there. I think at most he may have a bent axle, bent handlebars, or bent risers. These forks look perfectly fine. That rim looks perfectly fine. The rotor looks like it's perfectly where it needs to be. But the big thing is we can't start the bike until we get this radiator swapped out, which I think is on back order right now. Also, the little fins that go on the side of this, the decal fins that sit on the side of this, they're also needing to be replaced as well. So I think we should be able to get his bike back on the road for less than $1,500. That's going to be the goal. And yeah, we're going to get our friend back on the road. Coming around to the other side of the bike, everything seems to be in line. Nothing seems damaged or out of place. We do have the overfill or the excess radiator fill right here. Coming to the other side of the radiator, you can see that it's just like, it's not really being held on as it's supposed to be. So it's good that there's not much damage, or if any damage at all, on this side. So the next step is figuring out what's, I guess, all broken, because one thing I've learned is as you start taking stuff apart, you find more things that are broken. But I can tell you that this could be a lot worse, not only for the bike, but also my friend. He came out really well considering what this could have been. So yeah, I think we're gonna get him situated. But I can tell you, I don't see $15,000 worth of damage on this thing. But the way insurance and dealerships work when it comes to this kind of thing, if there's a single scuff, if there's a single stain on any part of this bike when they're doing these inspections, they're going to mark it off as something that needs to be replaced. And that's where these astronomical inspection numbers come from. So yeah, we're going to get them situated either way it goes. So yeah, let's get to it. Before we get started, I have to give a shout out to these amazing socks that we just had created. They're the first ever Bicasso branded socks. Although they don't have Bicasso on them, they have the word build, because I believe that there's a builder in all of us. So if you want a really, really nice pair of socks, especially just for the riding season coming up, you can head over to BrandonBicasso.com. Links are in the description. Go check them out. Before we can even take this thing off, we need to block off these lines. So when we take it off, we won't be spewing radiator fluid, or at least what's in here, all over the floor. Because I can see down in here, there's a little bit of fluid left, but this line goes to the coolant tank. So we're going to clamp this off with this tool. And we're going to be able to take this off with some needle nose, and we should be able to go ahead and take the coolant tank off once we do this. So I'm going to take this tool, I'll put it around like this, and then we're just going to tighten it up. Do a clamp. We did that. Take a pair of needle nose, pull this clamp off, like that. Just like that. Nothing's coming out. On the coolant side, we have these two little tabs, and we got these screws, and we should be able to pull this up out of here. Easy. And then Allen key. Okay, I got ahead of myself just a little bit. So I capped off this line. I should have capped off this one because this is the one that actually goes to the coolant tank. So we're going to take this screw off right here. Then we're going to get the radiator cap off, make sure that there's no coolant leaking. And then we're going to cap this one off from right here. And then we'll be able to stop that from leaking. And then we'll just take that screw back off and get this off. Wonder if it's hot. Whoa, wasn't expecting that one. Boo. Well, this is what happens when you're half knowing what you're doing. So I had to go ahead and cap this off like the original plan was, because I capped the wrong line off. Because once I opened that radiator cap, yeah, all of that air allowed that to run out. So yeah, I got to clean this up. Now that that's properly capped off, I can pull this back. Sweet. It's truly why I don't like fooling with radiators. Okay, that's out. Oh! Yeah, it's not helping on that one. I didn't go tight enough. Don't worry, I'm gonna spill some more, but I just like cleaning it as I go along. I've learned that the key to these things is you have to keep twisting them until they bottom out. You may think that it's tight, but if you still have room to go on this thing, you keep going. All right, no fluid on this side. But I got fluid on the other side. Darn it. The last thing to do is disconnect the fan from the wiring harness from right here, and then we'll be able to unscrew it from the broken radiator, and when the new one comes in, we'll be able to reverse this and mount it. Yeah, let's get this off. Full. Oh. More fluid. After taking the fan off, we got the screw mounts off. We got the this part mounts onto the frame. We also got the bushings because I don't know what is going to come on the new radiator. We got all of this stuff taken off, and we have just a bare radiator. So this is where it mounts, I think, into a bottom bracket. The bushings went here. You see also the damage right here. There's that hole, and there's also a bent portion right there that's also cracked. So yeah, this thing is scrap now, and we're just waiting for the new one to come in. All right, now we're taking off this rear brake lever. Okay, so now that we got the radiator off, we determined that the fan was okay. We got the various little screws and bushings off. We also got the rear brake lever off, and I put the mounting stuff back on there so everything is kind of in its place. So once we get the new parts in here soon, we'll be able to put all the stuff back together, get the radiator filled up and bled, and also good thing that we didn't have to take any of the brake lines apart, so we don't have to bleed anything with that, and then we'll be able to get everything else like the exhaust and stuff on and get our friend back on the road. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and also hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this. But here's another video for you to watch, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.